Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. Number 17, Kansas State takes on number 8, TCU on Saturday. And just like we all predicted back in the preseason, this game will determine who sits alone atop the Big 12 standings. Yes, the Wildcats and the Horned Frogs are both 3-0 in Big 12 conference play. The winner will be the lone unbeaten team in conference play. And guys, this is going to be a fun one. This is going to be a great battle between the Wildcats and the Horned Frogs, a battle between Kansas State's defense, TCU's offense, and today we're here to break down everything you need to know for this game and, of course, share our official prediction for who will win in Fort Worth. So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, guys. We're so glad that you could join us today. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and, of course, check out everything down in the description below, including our expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. If you want the spread pick for this game and hundreds of others, you do not want to miss out on our expert picks, guys, beating out over 80% of the national analysts each of the last 4 years, over 81% on the money line, over 60% against the spread. We would love for you to come and take advantage of those and become a part of our GE Nation. Take a look at it, the link for it down in the description below. So let's take a look, guys, at this game. I mean, who would have thought, right? You know, you may have thought Kansas State would be good. You may have thought TCU would be good, but no one thought this would be a top 20 matchup with Big 12 title implications and playoff implications as well. This is a huge, huge game. And history is actually on Kansas State's side. The Wildcats have won the last 3 over the Horned Frogs, but 2 of those 3 have come by 1 possession. So TCU is knocking on the door. They didn't, not last year, but the previous 2 years, they were close. They're ready to end that streak. You take a look at the offenses, guys. Kansas State, you know what you're going to get with them. They are a run-heavy team, and they are dang good at it. The Wildcats averaging 244.5 rushing yards per game, led by the dynamic duo of their quarterback, Adrian Martinez, who has rushed for over 540 yards and 9 touchdowns, and then Deuce Vaughn, who is one of the best running backs in the entire country, 661 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns on the year. Also a very lethal threat out of the backfield. Great opportunity for Adrian Martinez to hit his check down in Deuce Vaughn, and he can take it to the house. 80 yards to the house on screen pass, no doubt about it. This team, guys, wants to run the ball, but Adrian Martinez is improving as a passer. Has 900 passing yards on the year, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. So, while he's not the best passer in the world, you can't say he doesn't take good care of the football. He has yet to turn it over through the air. And he's really delivering when he needs to. He delivered a couple times in the clutch these last few weeks for the Wildcats. Ultimately, guys, what Kansas State wants to do, they want to utilize that RPO system. You don't know if Martinez is going to keep it. You don't know if he's going to give it to Deuce Vaughn. You don't know if he's going to pull it and hit someone deep. The TCU defense has to be cautious to not bite and keep creeping up, because as soon as they do, that's when Martinez is going to pull it back, launch it deep. The Wildcats averaging 28.7 points per game, only 158.8 passing yards per game. But again, Martinez has shown that he can deliver when he needs to so far this season. When you look at TCU, the Horned Frogs are really quite the opposite, guys. I mean, Kansas State a little bit slow, methodical, grind it out. TCU's like, we're going fast, we're going to go explosive. We want those big plays. 45.8 points per game for the Horned Frogs this year, over 525 yards per game for the Horned Frogs, nearly 300 passing yards per game, nearly 230 rushing yards per game. And it all starts with their quarterback in Max Duggan, a guy who has thrown for over 1,500 yards, 16 touchdowns, and just 1 interception all year long. So both quarterbacks doing a phenomenal job of taking care of the football. Duggan, like Martinez, has dual threat capability. He has rushed for over 261 yards and 4 touchdowns so far this year, but he has a great supporting cast around him. I think TCU really has one of the more underrated trios of players in the country. You've got Max Duggan at quarterback. They've got Kendre Miller at running back, who has rushed for 578 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 6.4 yards per carry. Then you've got a guy like Quentin Johnston, who torched Kansas a few weeks ago, and then torched Oklahoma State this last week for 180 yards and a touchdown. He now has 500 reception yards and 2 touchdowns on the year. That group of players, guys, Duggan, Miller, Johnston, so tough to stop, and one of the best trios in the country that I don't think enough people are talking about. So Kansas State, they want to grind it out. They want to run the football. They're gonna try to dominate time possession, dominate the game in the trenches. TCU's like, we're going fast. We're going to score a lot. So definitely a different class of styles in this game. And it's going to be a clash of styles. It's going to be tough for the Kansas State defense to stop. But I will say this. if you're looking for edges in the game, I believe Kansas State certainly owns the defensive edge. The Wildcats only allowing 16.7 points per game, only 354.5 total yards per game. And the key number here is the fact they're giving up just 132.8 rushing yards per game. So they've done a pretty good job of limiting their opponents on the ground. And that's what Kansas State really needs to do here, is find a way to make TCU one-dimensional, win it through the air. Force Max Duggan to win it through the air, because if he has to do that, Duggan's facing a secondary in Kansas State that has 9 interceptions so far this year. 9 interceptions so far this year, also has 16 sacks on the year. Kansas State's no stranger to creating pressure. They're no stranger to creating turnovers. And you look a little bit deeper here against what the best offense they face. When you look at this, Kansas State, when they faced Oklahoma, similar offense to that of TCU. Kansas State won that game by dominating the time of possession. That was key, talking about grinding it out on offense. Against Texas Tech, another electric offense in the Big 12, Kansas State won that game by forcing 4 turnovers. We just mentioned how key those are going to be for Kansas State's offense to grind it out, own the time of possession, prevent Max Duggan from being on the field, defensively, forcing turnovers, getting those stops, making them one-dimensional, and hopefully forcing TCU to only win it through the air, something that the secondary feels are confident they can do and confident they can win with. So that's how they beat Oklahoma and Texas Tech. I believe TCU clearly has a better offense than both of those programs, clearly showed it against Oklahoma, but they're similar enough that if Kansas State implements a similar game plan, they can get that win. When you look at TCU, the defense, guys, it's kind of been a bend but don't break type of defense. They haven't been great, but they're delivering when they need to, right? They allowed 26.5 points per game so far this year, allowing 400 yards per game. And like Kansas State, a pretty stingy run defense, only giving up 135.2 total rushing yards per game on the year. So, you look at Kansas State, when they're averaging over 240 rushing yards per game, something's got to give here. That's over a 100-yard difference. So either Kansas State's going to continue to impose their will, or TCU's going to stiffen it up and force Adrian Martinez to win the game through the air. And that's not something that I feel like many of us, including myself, feel confident that he can do, at least for a full 60 minutes. But I will say this, while the numbers look good for the TCU rushing defense, they have struggled in Big 12 conference play against the run. They allowed 141 rushing yards to Oklahoma State last week. They allowed 189 rushing yards to Kansas. They allowed 179 rushing yards to Oklahoma. Yes, obviously TCU won all of those games, but that's still a lot of yards they're giving up on the ground. They have to be careful not to do that against Kansas State. If Kansas State gets it going, and again, dominates the time of possession, wins the battle up front, and just imposes their will on the ground, kind of like they did against Oklahoma a few weeks ago, then it's going to be a long day for the TCU defense. So again, we talked about this, guys. It's a clash of styles. It is Kansas State's defense trying to stop TCU's offense. Obviously, it's the TCU offense and the Kansas State offense are so drastically different. What is going to give in Fort Worth? Who is going to win this game? And I can tell you right now that I cannot pick against TCU. Right now, I can't pick against TCU. This team is hot. I mean, they are on a roll. They beat Kansas. They beat Oklahoma State. They beat Oklahoma, which really kind of started this big movement to TCU all the way in the top 10. They're at home, at night. I can't pick against them. Yes, Kansas State's coming off a bye week. Yes, they're going to be a little bit well rested. And I do think they will hang with the Horned Frogs. I don't necessarily think this is going to be a blowout by any means. But ultimately, the TCU offense does just enough to wear down this Kansas State defense. And if TCU's offense, if their defense can get a couple quick 3-and-outs against this Kansas State offense, that Wildcats defense is going to get hurt, slow. They're going to get, tired, and they're not going to be able to slow down or keep up with the electric and fast-paced Horned Frogs offense. So ultimately, guys, it's a back-and-forth game for a little bit. TCU pulls away in the second half, and the Horned Frogs improve to 7-0 and will be the Big 12's best shot of getting a team into the college football playoffs, just like we all predicted back in the preseason. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. And of course, check out everything down in the description below, including our expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com, beating out over 80% of the national analysts each of the last 4 years. We want you to check those out, sign up today, and can become a part of our GE Nation. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.